If you like it, then you should have put a ring on it.
What-oh. What-oh. What-oh.
But wait! What if they're not a member?
No, oh. No.
Whoa,
Kidding, it's a joke. Joking.
But we're not even talking about marriage.
No, we're not.
We're talking about dating.
Yeah, dating.
They're synonymous in the Mormon culture.
Our favorite topic.
Yeah, I love talking about dating. So, first here, we got some wonderful comments from our fans, and we're going to be reading your thoughts and giving our opinions on them.
Yep.
So,
on what to expect when you're dating a Mormon.
If you're not a Mormon or if you are a Mormon?
If you're both, I guess. A little bit of both.
Kind of works, honestly.
okay.
I could have used some advice dating some Mormons.
Well, here we go then.
Because that's all I've dated, and it's not going too well.
All right, so one person says, so for non-Mormons dating Mormons, they're not just going to try to convert you. If they really love you, of course, they'll want to share the gospel, but they'll hopefully also be respectful. Interesting.
How do you...
I half agree with this because some people will try and convert you. That's just a fact of that's just a personal decision if they want to do that or not. Hopefully, they're not just dating you to convert you. That's
I think inviting you
That's hard.
and trying to convert you are different, right?
Right.
Okay.
I also think, maybe a little bit on that, is like if you're dating someone, if your relationship is conditioned on them progressing in the gospel, then I'm not sure that's a healthy relationship.
Yeah.
Because it shouldn't be conditional.
Yeah.
And so it's like this relationship will only be successful if you decide to join the church, even if it's kind of a secret, like in your heart, this is only going to work out if they decide to get baptized, which is, because I'm not saying that's a bad thing,
Right.
because a lot of relationships have worked out, but I just would make sure that's not the reason, because conditions in any relationship kind of mess things up. That's just a personal.
Yeah, okay. Lots of YSA women I know practice the 3 Ds. Date 'em, dunk 'em, and dump 'em. So, I've never met any woman who does this. You might have a really bad streak, but the majority of LDS women I know don't even... No. They don't do that.
But I have met a man. There's a guy I knew who had dated 3 girls consecutively who all were non-members, got baptized, and he dumped them.
Are they active?
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
Crazy. But I think that's kind of the miracle, and that
Yeah, they... Woo.
don't, that's not a good thing,
Yeah, well, don't join the church for someone else, right?
Ooh,
but
That's very important.
good.
Yeah, I think, though, you know what I think? It may come across that way because there was 2 girls that I dated, and I, of course, wanted them to join the church.
You invite them to church, church activities.
Wanted them to join a church. They weren't members of the church. But after a while, I knew, we weren't going to have a temple marriage, and so I broke it off. And so they kind of assumed that I was going after I'll just convert them and then dump them, but that wasn't what I was going for. So I think you can't just project what you think they're doing to you.
Yeah.
You've got to be, these are people. They're not these robots from Cedar City. Just let's go find the Homo sapien males and make them baptized into our church. They're not doing that.
Cool story though is my mother. She was not a member. She was a Catholic, and
Right.
And then when she met a guy she worked with, I think at Jack in the Box. She was like 16, I think.
All right.
And she thought he was super cute. He was a Mormon. They started going on dates. He taught about the church because he was going on a mission, and so he had to explain that whole thing. And then she started taking the missionary lessons, got baptized. He left on his mission. And they weren't dating when he left,
Yeah.
And the whole time she was really in love with this guy. She really wanted it to work out. He turned out not to be so great. His mission, I don't think he ended up going on a mission just because things started going well. He eventually left the church. But my mom stayed because she was converted to the gospel and not to
him. Yeah.
And I think that's when it's awesome,
Yeah.
If you're dating a Mormon and they are very active in their faith, they're gonna share it with you.
Right.
It's true.
But you have to look at their intentions. And if you are a Mormon dating a non-Mormon, don't just try and convert people. That shouldn't be your whole focus in dating them. For instance, I was at church last week, and we had this great lesson on ministering and just becoming friends with people in the ward. Right after that meeting, I had these people in my ward come up to me, and they were talking to me and getting to know me, and it was great. And I was like, oh my gosh, I'm making friends. I got friends. And then he was like, yeah, I have this business and, we do interviews to start people off in this thing and you can retire in 3 years and it's going to be great. And I was just like,
It's like the summer sales tactic.
And I was just, it sucks when you realize like their intentions weren't to be your friend.
Yeah.
And you're just like, you just wanted me to join your business. And I imagine it's the same way if you're non-Mormon, dating a Mormon.
It's like, you just wanted me to embrace the Mormon religion.
Yeah.
Right.
And that's a bummer. Sometimes it's just, we're encouraged to date people that share our faith because it's a big part of our lives and because it leads, we want eternal marriage to be the goal.
Yeah.
And that can't happen unless both of us share the same faith. But follow the Spirit. I mean, if the Spirit tells you that it's cool to date someone that's not of your same faith, then date someone that's not of your same faith.
Yeah. Here's one. Okay, I don't agree with this comment. It says, religious differences in one way or another, no matter what, though. If you love each other, you should not let religion get in the way. I think there's, like, goodwill behind that, but that also, I feel like that can suggest, like, hey, we love each other, she's Baptist, I'm Mormon, but you know what? We should be able to have sex because you know what? We're not going to let religion get in the way. It's like, no.
So you're saying like you're not supposed to like check your religion at the door and put your beliefs aside.
Not supposed to do that. I do not think that's a smart move. So,
but it is good to like be tolerant of each other's different beliefs.
Definitely.
Because there are people who are married and from different religions. Married, and like,
Well, I think so. I dated this girl who was Baptist, and her parents could not stand the fact that I was LDS. They were so mad about it. And on Sunday, they're like, "You want to come to church with us?" And I was like, "Only if you come to church with me." And they're like,
savage.
they were really upset. But you know what? We ended up having to break up for obvious reasons. But okay.
Are there reasons?
Yeah, I guess I'll share. So those two girls I mentioned, both wanted to have sex, and I was like, sorry, they really wanted to. And like, listen, it's not gonna. And that's also
the only way that could have been like an obvious reason is if you just like pulled out a baby from like under the
pillow.
For obvious reason.
No, I just. And here's what stinks about it is they're both such great people. I love them both to death to this day, right? Yeah. And it was horrible that like I had to that's such a vulnerable thing, wanting to have sex with someone, and at that moment of vulnerability, be like, no, and we need to break up. I really hate that I hurt them so much in that way.
I mean, you maybe could have waited to break up a few days later.
No, I did. I think I did okay. No, I definitely could have handled it both better, but I just. Kidding. So looking back, it
is hard.
It is hard, and you feel so bad about it, and I hope they don't hate me. One does, but
because here's like in that like when I was in high school, we had in my health class, I think it was, we were supposed to put like what are the most important things in a relationship, and I put number 1 religion, then number 2 like love and stuff, and my class, like everyone in my class was like, what the heck? My teacher, she like called me out, and she's like, religion? Like, are you serious? And I was just like, my entire life is based around my religion, because it's the truth, like it is how I'm going to be saved, So if someone didn't share that with me, that just wouldn't make sense. That wouldn't work in my brain.
Yeah, I could.
Then that's just that's me personally, because like if I want to have I want to have an eternal family.
Right. And there's somebody on here who responded, and they're talking about she's LDS and her husband is not, and she says. He has always said that the only thing he expects of our religious differences is that I respect that he doesn't think the way I do, and to not force him into something he is not. We've been doing great with this and learn how to properly communicate when we do have differences of opinion. And I think that when you have differences of opinion, you just have to reach a point. The correct way to handle that is reaching a point where love becomes more important than proving the other person right or wrong.
That's a good point. Not checking religion at the door, but checking pride at the door.
Right. Yeah. Right. Contention is of the devil, whether or not you're on the right side of the
honestly,
argument.
there's going to be differences in any relationship, regardless of religion. Like they like this show and you don't, or they like this food and you don't, and I don't know. Like you're gonna
exactly. You gotta learn how to work as a team.
You gotta learn.
Gotta bloom where you're planted.
Well,
or plant where you're bloomed.
Here's one I was talking about. This comment says, no booze.
Thanks. Sorry, keep going.
This comment says, no booze and sex. I think they meant booze or sex. No booze and or sex, really.
Booze. With a Z. Booze. You gotta emphasize that.
Booze. True. We don't drink and we don't have sex before we're married. So if you're dating an LDS person,
Be ready for that.
Yeah, be ready for them not to drink with you unless it's like sparkling cider or apple juice or soda.
We're not even going to drink coffee.
Actually, don't drink. Apple juice is really bad for your teeth.
Really?
It's super acidic and it will destroy your teeth very quickly.
Take it easy, all right?
Yeah, okay.
I'll go to a dentist. I'm going to lay off.
Wait, but here's something cool about that, though, is that I was in high school once again. There were a lot of members who weren't active. Well, they went to church and stuff, but they didn't really keep all the commandments. And so I didn't hang out with Mormons in high school. I hung out with a lot of different religions because they were super, like, awesome people.
Great examples.
And there was this girl I really, really liked.
Yeah.
And she was probably one of the most amazing people I've ever met, and still is. But she wasn't a Mormon, and I think that's the kind of situation. It's like, just because you're not a Mormon doesn't mean you're a bad person.
Yeah.
And just because you're a Mormon doesn't mean you're a good person.
There are some people in my life who are Protestant Christians and who are Muslim, and they share my values way more than some LDS people I know and some other Christian people.
And so I could see that working out because at the end of the day, you believe in God and you like.
Yeah. All right. Jacob said a lot of "oh my hex" and praise checks.
I don't know what a praise
What's
check
a praise check?
I'm not sure.
I'm hoping you clarify in the comments.
I don't know what a praise check is.
But there will be a lot of "oh my hex."
Oh
fetches
my heck!
and
What the fetch? Oh,
Okay, wait, no. What do you guys say though? What are your favorite?
I say heck a lot.
I say what the heck.
I jammed my finger in a door earlier today, actually, and I said "son of a biscuit."
So really, just follow the Spirit. Just do what you feel is right, but don't like Kwaku said. Don't check your standards or your religion at the door.
And know that LDS people can love you even if you're not LDS, and you might fall in love with a Mormon, and it's pretty cool.
And just because they're not LDS, it doesn't mean they're going to hell. Respect their beliefs. Find what you have in common.
Don't be a jerk.
Love each other in the Christ-like way, and don't get too involved physically.
And don't get mad at your daughter's boyfriend if he's LDS and your daughter's a Baptist and treat him badly and make snide remarks, because you know what? He remembers you. I remember your face.
So like, subscribe, comment, and follow us on all the social media platforms.
Mr. and Mrs. I didn't forget who you were.
And our next episode will be about
84329 Oak Willow Trail in Cypress, Texas, 77433.
P. Sherman 42 Wall, City.
Okay.